All right, welcome everyone. My name is Ben Nelson. I work for the state of North Dakota as an information technology specialist within EduTech, which is the educational services division within North Dakota Information Technology. NDIT is doing whatever possible to ensure that the entities we support are able to function in a wide variety of situations. For K-12 schools, we know our North Dakota administrators and educational personnel are carefully navigating how to proceed with classes, communication, and collaboration while addressing concerns around COVID-19. EduTech's mission remains to provide technology services and leadership to improve teaching and learning in North Dakota pre-K-12. We are continuing that mission by providing this webinar series and are here to support our North Dakota K-12 community with support, training, and resources. For more information about past and future webinars, please check out our website and our YouTube channel. With me today is Danielle Stuckey. She is the Education Outreach Coordinator for the State Historical Society of North Dakota. And Danny, I will go ahead and let you take and give us some information on the North Dakota State Historical Society.
Well, Ben, I'd like to start by thanking you for inviting me here today. I really appreciate it. And any opportunity I get to talk about the resources at the State Historical Society, I take it. I'm really excited to be able to be here and share some of the resources that we have. I've shared my screen, which is going directly to the northdakotastudies.gov webpage, where we house all of our, or most of our, content that's focused specifically on schools and the education system in North Dakota. So if we provide resources for all educators, public schools, private schools, home schools. This is meant for anybody, and because it's free and online, anybody can check it out, from a person in Rome or Pakistan or China, wherever they happen to be around the globe. And we do surprisingly have quite a few people from all over the world who are using our resources, which makes us really excited that they're interested in North Dakota and taking time to come here and look at all this information. Because the North Dakota legislature has said that they want North Dakota studies taught in the public schools at the 4th grade, 8th grade level, required at the 4th grade and 8th grade level, and as an elective in high school, we've focused a lot of our formal education content specifically at those grade levels. But these are things that can be adapted easily for wider grade bands. If you're teaching in the 3rd to 5th grade band, the 4th grade curriculum is easily adapted up or down as you need for your class level and the needs of your particular learners. So we have our North Dakota Studies main hub website, and at this page we have a lot of different ways where you can click into the specific grade level you're looking for. And then we also have one category that's just kind of some general teacher resources that might be for any age level. We have some quick links on the side to take us to one of the programs we have is the National History Day in North Dakota program. And that is a really exciting program where kids can compete. It's kind of like a science fair. They can compete at the local, state, and national levels to research and present about a topic that they're personally interested in. And one of the really fun things about this is they do the research, they develop their information, their content, and then they can choose what kind of project they want to focus on. So they can do a traditional historical paper, a documentary, a website, an exhibit, or a performance. And that is a program that we're trying to build up. I've got some information on our website, but we're going to be doing a lot over the next year to add a lot of videos, a lot of tutorials and guides for educators, students, and parents and judges to figure out what their role is and how to dig into this program and bring it to a classroom. So that's one of the things that you'll find when you come to our website. We also have some links to the Paleontology. The North Dakota Geological Survey has their paleontologists housed in our main building, the Heritage Center in Bismarck, and we have a very close relationship with them as a result. They have exhibits in one of our galleries. They do a lot of programs. Their offices and collection storage is in the Heritage Center. And so we have a handy link to connect to them. And as a state agency, we actually have multiple websites. So we have the State Historical Society of North Dakota. We have a link here to our agencies, the larger website for our agency. And we'll look at this a little bit farther on in my presentation. We also have a direct link to our state museum, which is in the Heritage Center. And this gives you in-depth information about all the things we have available, the resources and services in the Heritage Center, the galleries, the museum store, the museum cafe, programs that we have going on in the Heritage Center. We've got all that information on this website. If we have time, we'll maybe dig around a little bit there later on in the presentation as well. So we're back on the main NorthDakotaStudies.gov hub website, where we have links to all of our curriculum. And the 4th grade, we have a link to the actual online textbooks, which are available for free for anybody to use. This is what the North Dakota Studies teachers typically use to teach their courses, to teach the class. We have our themes broken down into the early settlement, frontier era, American Indians, geology, geography and climate, North Dakota agriculture and citizenship. So those are our primary textbooks for students, but you can also order the print textbooks still. We do have some in stock, and we do have the order form. We've tried to make it easier to find. A lot of teachers were having a hard time finding where this link is, so now we brought it right up to the front where it's a lot easier for people to find. So you can actually still order the textbooks, and they're not that expensive, I don't think. The price point on a lot of these is about $15, but they are available for free also on the website, which some teachers really like that aspect, that they don't have to invest a lot to teach this curriculum, and some people still really like having that textbook in their hands. We also have an energy unit for the 4th grade, which is linked to here. And we have a number of additional resources for teachers, other materials we've developed over the years, some quick links. We have a number of things we'll be adding to this, so teachers that come to this over the next few months will see a few changes and a lot more additional content located in some of these links. The 8th grade, the 4th grade curriculum, the online textbook is identical to the print textbook, except we're no longer updating the printed textbooks, where all of our updates is specifically in the online version, where we've shifted as an agency to a print first publisher, or an online first publisher. So our print textbooks are actually going to eventually fade away as we run out of supply of those. So our textbook and the print book are identical. The 8th grade is a little bit different. We do have our online units. We've got 4 units organized by chronology. And we used to have a print textbook that was covered a lot of the same material, a little bit different. It's not a page-to-page reproduction of the old textbook, and that actually out of print, so the only way to access the 8th grade curriculum is through our online resources, which again is free. There's also an energy unit here, just like the 4th grade. And again, additional resources. We have a number of resources here that have just developed over the years of all this material that we needed to put somewhere where teachers could find it. So we continue to add, just like with the 4th grade, we'll be adding more content to the additional resources over the next several months. There isn't a link on this one for a print textbook because, as I said, we no longer carry that. They're out of print. The high school curriculum, we have a print textbook that you can order. It takes you back to that order form page. And we have some online, they're document sets there where we can feature primary sources for students to focus on in different theme areas. And this material is actually going to change significantly. We're developing a new online curriculum for the high school. So we currently still have the document sets linked here, but in the next few months, this is going to be a whole new website specifically for the high school curriculum. I'm really excited about that. And then again, just like with the other grade bands, we have additional resources for teachers. There's a number of books and other content that we've developed. Some of this we've developed ourselves, some of it we've developed in partnership with other organizations around the state, and we've put as much of that online for free as we've been able to. The last section here is teacher resources. We've got another link right here for that History Day in North Dakota page. We have a link to workshops. We are planning, hopefully this coming summer, to have a workshop for teachers, and we're playing around with what that's going to look like. It might be a hybrid combination where people can attend in person or virtually. We've got a few decisions to make about that yet. So we'll feature things, upcoming things like that on our workshops link. There's a history teacher award that's available each year through the Gilder Lerman Foundation. And then again, additional resources. Just taking us back to that page where we've got all of these, so much content material, videos and movies and photos and documents and all kinds of material. I'm going to, I think, take us to our main site. I'm trying to remember if there's anything else specifically I wanted to spend time on in this page. We do have quite a bit of other things that people can find as they start to poke around. We've got links to some of our historic sites. Some of these links take us back to our agency main page. We've got a newsletter that people can access. So there's a lot of material for people to discover once they start digging around in everything that's at this page. The main agency page is incredibly rich with resources for educators as well. Our agency has more than 50 sites across the state that we manage. Our main headquarters is at the Heritage Center in Bismarck. And then we have several satellite historic sites, interpretive centers, and museums around the state. And some sites that are just simply like a roadside marker. So some of the sites aren't a staffed site, but we have probably seasonally staffed. I think there's maybe about 10 or 12 interpretive centers and historic sites around the state that have staff at least on a seasonal level. Some of them have year-round staff. Even when they're not necessarily open all year, a lot of our major sites with interpretive centers still have year-round staff who do programming all year. We're developing an Ask an Expert program that I'm really excited about. We're just starting to roll that out. It's sort of in a beta testing phase, but it's an opportunity to really capitalize on this virtual learning that everybody's been forced into this year, and connecting students from anywhere in their classroom to our sites to talk to the experts, the interpretive staff and historians and natural history experts, natural resource experts that work at those sites. So we'll be having more information on our website in the next few weeks as that resource becomes available. So we have all these historic sites across the state. Our agency is large for a North Dakota agency, and we have so much going on that people are often surprised at. We have the paleontologists from the Geological Survey are in our main building in earlier at the Heritage Center. We have archaeologists, a large archaeology division who also manage state sites across the state of North Dakota. And we have galleries and a number of staff who focus on marketing and programming, and there's just so much going on in our building and across our agency that people are often surprised. And one of the things that happens too is we often get confused with other state agencies that provide similar services. The North Dakota State Parks and Recreation Division has a number of historic sites as well. So some people are often confused about who owns which site, who manages each site. State Parks manages Fort Lincoln near Mandan, and they manage Fort Mandan in Washburn, and do a lot of times similar programming and provide similar services to us. So some people get a little bit confused of who's running which site. We also get confused sometimes with the state library. The state library has a circulating collection of books that you can check out, and they're located in Bismarck on the Capitol grounds. But then our agency also has a state library and archives, and that's a non-circulating collection, meaning you can take these home, because these are the historic documents that, as a historian, I get really excited about. The diaries and letters and photographs and all that kind of thing that we really like to get our hands on as historians. We have those located at the Heritage Center in the archives. So we have our main agency website helps people figure out what it is we're doing and how they can find some of that information and access that, what programs we have going on. And there's a lot here. There is an education tab on our main site, which most of these links on here redirect people to our northdakotastudies.gov site, which we started with. And they give information about how to plan a visit, how to schedule a group visit for a field trip. And then we've got links about, we have in-person exhibits in our gallery spaces and at our historic sites that you can learn about. We have a number of online exhibits. These aren't things that you can visit except through our website, and some of these are really cool and have so much information. How do you interpret the history of the sky in North Dakota, which is really interesting. We've covered a lot of topics about the sky in North Dakota, from how Native Americans understood constellations and how those are different or similar to how other cultures understood constellations, to things like what meteorites have landed in North Dakota, the work that some of our partners are doing. The University of North Dakota has they're a partner of NASA, and they're doing work for future exploration on Mars. They're doing a number of research projects related to how to build a spacesuit, how to build different, the furniture that you need, not furniture isn't the right word, but the housing that you would need to live on Mars. There's research being done at UND about that. So we have links to all of that. What does the night sky mean in North Dakota? That's a really cool project and a lot of fun to explore. So once educators really start to dig around and poke around in our site, there's just so many holes that you can fall into and spend time here. We've got information about our historic sites around the state. You can pull up a map that shows where they're all located, which can help educators discern which ones you can access through us. And if there's a site that's maybe not on here, maybe that's a state park site instead of a historical society site. There's really a lot of information about the different sites. I'm going to click on the Chateau in Medora, for example. They have all kinds of information about if you want to go there for a field trip, if you want to access their Facebook page. They have a lot of videos. They've really done a lot of our sites have done a lot of virtual learning this past year. They have a lot of videos on their social media feeds. We have a YouTube page with a lot of videos from our sites, and some of these are just so cool. You could watch videos from our sites you could probably do that alone all day long. We've got information about historic preservation in the state of North Dakota. What does that mean? How do archaeologists do their jobs? What kind of materials and equipment do they use? They have a state plan for archaeology, so you can learn more about what that entails. How do archaeologists work? And of course, I always like to ask people, how is an archaeologist and a paleontologist different? A lot of people get those confused. A paleontologist focuses on dinosaurs, not just dinosaurs, but prehistoric fossils, natural history collections, prehistoric marine animals, things of that nature. And an archaeologist focuses on things related to human culture, the development of human culture over time. So I always like to start a program asking people, do you know the difference between an archaeologist and a historian? So the archaeologists are the ones who are hosting digs in a historic site where they uncover prehistoric villages in the state. This division also has information about the National Register, so what historic buildings might be in your community. How do you find a building in your community or your county that's on the National Register? You can access information like that here. We have a link to all the publications we have, the journal we put out, newsletters, so you can find information about accessing those types of reports and materials. And then one that I think is going to be really valuable for educators to learn more about is our link to our state archives. And this, again, this is a non-circulating collection, which means that you can't check things out, you can't take them home. These are, some of what we collect are from other state agencies, but a lot of what we collect are things that the general public has donated. And this is the stuff that can get really fun. As a historian, this is where I like to spend a lot of time. And because people can't check things out, and we know that adds a layer of difficulty for teachers who are in other corners of the state and can't always make it to Bismarck themselves or can't bring their students to Bismarck, we've tried to put a lot of our collections online. And what we have online is only a small percent of what we actually have physically, which is typical of any organization. People often think of an archives now just putting everything online, and in reality, only a small part of our collections are digitized. So there really is a lot of advantages if you're doing research to come and make an in-person visit. But if you're just trying to kind of get your feet wet on a topic and figure out what's going on, we have a lot of resources. We have information about how to contact us, research tips, how to find out about the types of resources we have, what it is we have in our collections. We've got a lot of access to things like newspapers. There's been so many newspapers in the state that have been digitized, and we have wonderful access to that through our website. Genealogical information, Veterans Oral History Project. There's a lot of information here. Some of the stuff that we have online, we started working several years ago with, it's called Digital Horizons. And there's a number of archives around the state that have information on this website. So it's not just the State Historical Society. A lot of the universities, UND, NDSU, they've also got information here. But we're actually shifting to a different format. So you can find stuff from our collections on Digital Horizons, but we have this new photo book. This photo book is a way to connect our how we catalog our collections in a database. This is a way to connect our database to a public-facing website that people can access. And if you're looking for documents and photographs for a research project, and kids of all ages can spend time doing research, even kids as young as that 3rd to 5th grade band, which is some of the youngest kids we usually work with for history research. They can learn how to access some of this stuff, and they just love coming in and looking at photos. So for example, if you wanted to look at what we have digitized in our collection related to Sitting Bull, you can just put that in our search function, and it brings up, we've got more than 1,800 records just related to the tag of Sitting Bull. So you can look at individual things that we have digitized over the years. And I just love this feature because you can really, you can zoom in quite a bit and see a lot of detail in this system. You can open this up to find more details. This is what we have in our catalog record about this particular image, and you can see there's quite a bit of text here to describe why we have this image, why it's significant, what we know about it, and then information about what collection this is related to, where can you find what else we have about this. So you could actually print this off if you'd like to. You can check on the collection summary to see what else we might have related to this. And one of the things that we want educators to do also is to think about how North Dakota studies fits into other things that they're teaching. Not just state studies, but how does some of this material and content fit into, if you're teaching US history, if you're teaching world history, you don't have to be teaching North Dakota studies to find these resources valuable. You can, if you're teaching world history and you want to help students understand how World War II impacted their local community, we've got 15,000 records that come up for the tag of World War II. So how have local men and women impacted the European theater of World War II? You're going to find some really cool stuff in these, more than 15,000 records that we've got. Trying to think of some of the other ways that we've used this material. Oh, we'd like to have teachers who don't just teach social studies use these resources also. We've got a lot of ways we've developed to think about how these resources fit into a larger concept of STEM. If you're looking at how technology and engineering and science can relate to social studies and history, my colleague Eric Holland, Curator of Education, he and I have spent a lot of time thinking about and developing lesson plans and content about how these resources connect to teaching of science, teaching about literacy. If you're looking for writing prompts for students in an English class, we've got lots of photographs that they can search for writing prompts. So we really like to explore ways that other educators can be using these resources. We really enjoy that aspect of our work. It's so much fun to really be able to tap into that creativity and brainstorm. What are the ways that these could be beneficial? These records can be beneficial to other educators, and just the general public. How does the general public come in and start to do research and connect this all of this content that our agency manages? How do you make these connections? And that's something that an aspect of our job that we really like a lot. I'm trying to think of some of the other things that I wanted to feature here. This whole photo book section is fairly new to our agency. I think it's been on our website for a few months now, but we continue to add more content and more information to all of this as our staff processes collections, as they take things in and digitize more stuff. There's going to continue to be more information here every year. We have a number of featured collections where we have a lot of things from particular collections that have been digitized for different reasons. Some of these are they've been digitized because they're some of our most popular resources that people like to come and take a look at. So we have things like the Will family, the Historical Data Project, it's air photographs. These include aerial photographs of North Dakota towns, which is a really cool thing for kids to be able to look at if you're comparing how your community has changed over time. And that's something that's very interdisciplinary. If you're teaching different science classes, or there's ways you could incorporate some of this into a math class even. How do you figure out how the size of your town has changed over the years? And we've got all these aerial photographs. There's so many ways that a teacher can just totally get lost in these collections, and so much material that's here. It's one of the problems that we have actually is there's just so much content that it can be challenging for people to figure out how to access some of this information. And that's one of the ways that Eric and I can help teachers as well, is just to try to figure out, how do I make sense of all of this? I just yesterday talked to a teacher that was looking at, is there some type of tutorial that we have available that would help a teacher figure out how to dig around and find all this information? And the short answer is it's coming. It's on its way in the next few months, especially as we develop that new high school history page. We're going to have a lot more of that material that we roll out with. One of the other things, we have a lot of people interested in what we do for virtual tours of our museum. And right now, we don't have a full virtual tour completed. It's one of our projects that's in the works. So we're hoping that there will be a virtual tour available soon. But even without one, we do have a lot of information about our exhibits available online. So this link is specifically for our state museum. And I got there. You can get to this link through either our main agency page or the North Dakota Studies page. And this has a lot of information for people, pictures of what some of our galleries look like, information about the kinds of things that are on display in those galleries. You can click around and really find a lot of information. So even though we don't have our 360 or our virtual tours up yet, there's still just so much information that a teacher can come in and access and see pictures of. A number of videos that have been done, little shorts. A lot of these are really short, just a few minutes, where people can get a focused video of a particular object we have on display. So I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges for educators, is we have so much information online and so many resources. How do you access something quickly, or how do you figure out what it is you're looking for and where that's located on our website? And I am always happy to help point people in the right direction. One of the things that I really like about the high school curriculum that we're developing is these document sets, the primary sources that we have. There is so much information in these pages, just like our photo book that has primary sources available. And by primary sources, I'm talking about the documents and photos that are related specifically to an event. They're the real thing from that time period, the real photographs, whereas a secondary source is things that come from a later time period. They're not from the event, they're created later. A lot of times it's like a book that a historian wrote about the event. So just to distinguish the secondary and the primary sources a little bit, but these primary sources, we have so much information available to students and to teachers. Trying to think some of these, well, the winter counts one is a really good one. We've got, you know, you can actually see the winter count. You can zoom in and see a close-up of that, so you can get a good look at what's actually there. Students can zoom in quite a bit. We also have descriptions of what all of this material means. How has this been interpreted over the years? And who's done some of the interpretation? Who are the people who have said this is what this means, or this is why it's important? So we have, you know, this is one person's documentation of what this winter count means. And here's another person's documentation. This is from a Native American who interpreted what the winter count he was working on meant. And then just some different discussion activities for teachers to do in their classroom. These are some of the things that we're working on. We're upgrading all of this content and information, which I'm so excited about. Some of this material that goes along with the primary sources is a little bit dated, so we're really excited to breathe some new life into some of this material, but there's so much here. A lot of teachers at the high school level, North Dakota Studies is only usually taught for one semester, and we just have so much material to look at. We have to pick and choose what can you actually cover in a semester, and we have so much more material here than you could ever really cover. So that's one of the things that we try to help educators with also, is what are the priority things that we should cover in our class? And if we have to skip something, what's something that we could skip? What's something we should maybe spend more time on? We've got all these great maps and map activities. I just love these historic maps. They're so much fun to look at, and you can really zoom in. You can see how much we're zooming in here. This is just a great resource and so much fun for students to look at. I think those are a lot of the things I really wanted to highlight the most for educators in North Dakota. We have, well, and educators everywhere. We have a lot of people from other states coming to our site also, but we focus on our primary audience is educators within the state of North Dakota. And there's just so much here that we're really excited to promote and help teachers understand how to access this. We've got a link to our museum store if you're looking for particular books about North Dakota. And this is something too that is cool to point out to teachers, is this is a resource that we've started just within the last few years. This is a blog the blog posts are written by our staff and some of our volunteers. This is one that just came out recently that I thought was so cool. One of our archaeologists, Tim Reed, wrote this post about the water in the Missouri was low enough this year that there's remains of a wrecked steamboat in the river, and they did some work took drone footage of the wreck that was visible, and he wrote a blog post about it. There's a video that you can watch here, and I think this is such a fabulous resource for educators who aren't familiar with this. If you're looking to talk to careers in cultural heritage industries and natural resource industries, this blog is just an amazing resource, because this is all staff writing about what their jobs at the agency is. This is one of the paleontologists, right? His posts that he's written about digging for dinosaurs in North Dakota. This David Newell is one of our exhibit developers, so he's talking about, he's a recent employee. I think he's been here for about a year, so he's only got a couple of blog posts up so far, but he's writing about how we go about developing an exhibit, how we do our research, how it's put together. So not only is it interesting to learn about how we put an exhibit together, but it's interesting for students to learn these are the jobs you can get. You know, I think David has a lot of, I'm trying to remember, he has a museum, a public history degree, I think, or a museum certificate, but he also has like a lot of art background in his experience. So what can you do if you study graphic design? What can you do if you study history? Anna is one of our site supervisors, so she's written some blog posts. She works at the Chateau in Medora, so she writes about some of the programs they've developed. And this is just a fantastic resource for teachers that I think is probably underutilized. Sarah has written some really good blog posts about how archivists do their work. What is an archivist? They're kind of like a librarian. They manage the documents that we have, the photographs and all those things. So what does somebody who has this education do with that kind of degree? You could spend a lot of time reading through the resources we have here. There's just really rich resources, and some of these are just really cool stories about, you know, things you didn't know about North Dakota. We have a really fun, our new agency director, Bill Peterson, wrote a really fun blog post about what it's like to be a new agency director. He started work this summer when most of our staff was working from home, and he had to run an agency where he didn't even know, you know, who all worked for him right away. And he writes about the experience of trying to figure out who's who and how to meet with staff and get to know people during a really unusual time period. So there's just a lot of really fun stuff here as well. I have covered so much stuff. I spent more time talking about this than I thought I was going to. I really didn't leave a lot of time if you have any questions, but I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have. There's a lot of material here.
Yeah, a lot of information on the state historical website. I mean, links to a lot of different things, a lot of things, honestly, I didn't even find, and I looked around it quite a bit as we were preparing for this. So, and I'll be honest, I was thinking to myself, I wonder what the difference between an archaeologist and a paleontologist is. So I appreciate you clearing that up for me.
I always try to put that at the beginning of a program. Anytime I'm going to be talking about archaeology or paleontology, a lot of times there's a little kid who's really into dinosaurs that knows the definition, it rolls right off his tongue. But that's something that a lot of people are always like, oh, I don't know which is which.
Well, I tell you, Danielle, I appreciate you coming and sharing stuff about the State Historical Society with us so that we can learn some of the stuff that's there and hopefully be able to take advantage of it for ourselves and our teachers as we go here. I'm trying to get to share my screen with your contact information so that if anybody does have questions, maybe, yeah, we'll see. It does not seem to want to share. Let's see. We'll go about it this way if we can. And of course, we're having technical difficulties.
Well, I'll take the opportunity to thank you again for hosting us today. I really appreciate this. We have a lot of really big, exciting plans for products and services that we want to provide for teachers. And, you know, just like every other state agency, and, you know, frankly, any business out there doing anything, we're always short staffed. We have more plans than we have resources to fulfill right away. So there's a lot of stuff that we want to keep adding to all of our resources for teachers, and getting feedback from teachers, that's always helpful. So we're just really excited to continue to do this work, and thank you so much for giving us another venue to help share this information.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure, really. And there it is now. I think you can see on your screen. That is our contact information for both the NDIT EduTech Help Desk with any questions that you might have for us. But I think more importantly for you, there is Danny. Again, we want to thank Danielle Stuckel for joining us today. Excuse me, and sharing all this information. I've got to look around it. I was a math teacher by trade before I started working for EduTech, so a lot of this is a little bit outside of what I would have considered my realm, but there are a lot of amazing resources on the site, I think, for all teachers. So we do want to thank anybody who's watching this. Feel free to look at those websites, look around at ndstudies.gov and history.nd.gov. Like Danny talked about, there's just a ton of information out there. And if you do have any questions, don't hesitate to contact her or the help desk if there's any other general questions. But again, we want to thank you for joining our webinar today, and we want to support you with any kind of virtual learning you can do. So thank you very much, and have a good rest of your day.